the island that chooses silence. Once a year, this island resets itself. Outside noise disappears completely. Cars, music, airport announcements, all of it fades away. Bali does this every year. Daily life comes to a stop. The streets empty. The island willingly embraces its own silence. Outsiders may struggle to fully grasp its meaning. Yet for the people of Bali, this is the most significant night of their year. Nyepi, the Balinese New Year. Here, the New Year does not begin with fireworks, loud celebrations, or crowded parties. It begins with silence. According to local belief, in this darkness, unseen forces perceive the island as uninhabited and simply pass by. When morning arrives, Bali is reborn. And there is only one place where you can truly witness this tradition, Bali itself. In the heart of Indonesia, home to the world's largest Muslim population, Bali remains a remarkable island where ancient Hindu traditions continue uninterrupted. Before sunrise each morning, women prepare small flower offerings known as kanang sari and place them on doorsteps, sidewalks, and temple stairs. Not as part of a grand ceremony, but almost like a daily responsibility. A quiet spiritual practice woven naturally into everyday life. Bali teaches something important. Behind almost everything beautiful lies deep discipline. In this cinematic 4K travel documentary, we will explore not only the island's postcard-perfect beauty, but also the engineering hidden behind its rice terraces. We will hear the rituals inside ancient temples. And as we move through dense forests, volcanic peaks, and beneath the ocean's surface, Bali begins to reveal an entirely different face. If you are ready, prepare to immerse yourself. Our journey begins. A living engineering wonder. As you travel north from Ubud, the road slowly climbs higher and the scenery begins to change. Suddenly, a vast green landscape unfolds before you. Layered across the hillsides like a giant natural staircase. The Tegalalang rice terraces. These rice fields are not only beautiful, they are deeply thought-provoking. On such steep terrain, how does water reach every layer equally? The answer lies in a single word: subak. Subak is the collective irrigation system developed centuries ago by Balinese farmers. Water here is managed communally. Decisions about when fields are irrigated, how long channels remain open, and how water flows are distributed are all guided by temple rhythms and seasonal cycles. In 2012, UNESCO added this system to the World Heritage List, recognizing both its engineering brilliance and its unique social philosophy. If you walk through Tegalalang early in the morning, before the mist has fully disappeared, you will see endless shades of green surrounding you. You will also notice the farmers already at work. In the early hours, they repair grassy edges, inspect irrigation channels, and move carefully through the terraces with their hands constantly touching the soil. Look closely at them. These hands are the reason this landscape continues to exist. Tegalalang quietly reminds you that every visible beauty is built upon invisible labor. Stretching toward infinity. Unlike the steep and compact beauty of Tegalalang, Jatiluwih reveals itself across a much broader landscape. Located in western Bali, this vast terrace system covers more than 300 hectares and offers one of the island's most breathtaking scenic landscapes. Here, the Subak system works differently. The land gives it more space. The irrigation channels are longer, slower, and deeper. Once again, everything revolves around the relationship between soil, water, and human effort. During a walk or bicycle ride through the area, you come face to face with Bali's agricultural heritage. Stop anywhere for a moment. Watch the wind bending the rice fields and the distant villages resting quietly across the landscape. In Jatiluwih, you begin to realize something unusual. Nothing here feels rushed. The sacred peak of the island. No matter where you travel in Bali, temples face toward it. Homes are aligned according to it. People pray in its direction. Mount Agung, rising 3,031 meters above the island, is Bali's highest peak. But beyond geography, its true meaning is spiritual. For the Balinese people, it is believed to be the home of the gods, the backbone of the island, and the source of balance itself. In 1963, volcanic activity caused severe destruction across nearby villages. Yet people returned, because for them, this land is not simply a place to live. It is a place to belong. If you want to climb Mount Agung, serious preparation is essential. The forest trails are steep, and during the final hours of the ascent, every breath becomes heavier. But when you finally reach the summit, the exhaustion slowly disappears. The sunrise spreads across Bali beneath you. The entire island opens before your eyes like a living map. Walking into the volcano's sunrise stage. West of Agung rises another remarkable volcano, more accessible yet equally unforgettable, Mount Batur. Standing at 1,717 meters, this active volcano is one of Bali's most popular destinations for night hikes and immersive travel experiences. The climb usually begins shortly after midnight. From a distance, scattered lantern lights appear across the dark volcanic slopes. Forget the tropical warmth of Bali's coastline. Up here, the air feels surprisingly cold. After hours of quiet climbing, the light slowly grows stronger near the summit. Then the sun rises over Lake Batur. The crater begins to glow. Black lava rock, the reflections across the lake surface, and the silhouette of Mount Agung in the distance come together in a single, breathtaking scene. The night hike may be challenging, but the volcanic landscape waiting at sunrise is extraordinary. As you walk across the region, it becomes impossible not to think about the fact that the solid ground beneath your feet was once flowing molten rock. The temple floating above the lake. As you travel toward Bali's northern highlands, the temperature begins to drop. In the mornings, the valleys are covered in mist. Tropical vegetation grows denser, and eventually the road reaches the shores of Lake Bratan. And there, rising from the water, or at least appearing to, stands Pura Ulun Danu Bratan. During the rainy season, when the lake level rises, the temple seems to separate from the shoreline and float across the water. The layered roofs of its Meru towers reflect perfectly on the lake's surface, doubling the scene like a mirror. Seeing the temple surrounded by morning mist leaves an unforgettable impression during your cinematic 4K journey through Bali. Dedicated to Dewi Danu, the goddess of water. This sacred temple serves as the spiritual center of Bali's vast irrigation system. Channels fed by Lake Bratan carry water far beyond the mountains into the island's rice terraces. Ceremonies held here are closely connected to agricultural cycles and planting seasons. In the early morning hours, silent offerings are placed around the temple grounds. Small boats drift quietly across the lake beside the shrine. The paths can be slippery and uneven, requiring careful steps during your walk. Along the shoreline, there are no massive structures or overwhelming crowds. The temple simply exists within its natural surroundings, calm and sacred. A 1,000-year-old source of purification. When cold water touches the face, people instinctively react, then pause, fold their hands, and bow their heads. At Tirta Empul, this scene repeats itself again and again. Believed to have been built during the 10th century, the temple stands above a natural spring. Water flows continuously through purification fountains arranged in a specific order. Everyone here seems to know the sequence. Sarongs are worn. Movements become slower and more deliberate. Balinese Hindu families arrive wearing traditional clothing, carrying offerings, and holding a clear intention: purification. It is a ritual that has continued for centuries. Visitors may also enter the pools, but always by following the local customs. Cloth wraps cover the lower body, and movement from one fountain to another happens respectfully alongside worshippers immersed in prayer. What makes Tirta Empul so remarkable is the way it quietly draws visitors into its tradition, whether they realize it or not. The sound of flowing water, prayers, and human voices blend together naturally. Water emerging from a 1,000-year-old spring continues to flow today for the very same purpose. The Forgotten Palace of the East. A few kilometers south of Tirta Ganga stands another water palace built in the early 20th century by the Raja of Karangasem. Taman Ujung. Blending Balinese architecture with unexpected European influences, this elegant complex consists of gardens, pools, and bridges connecting different sections of the palace grounds. The pools here are not meant for swimming. Instead, the still water reflects the surrounding mountains and sky like a giant painting. As you walk through the area, you pass carefully maintained gardens, stone sculptures, and decorative columns. In the distance lies the Indian Ocean, and farther beyond, the silhouette of Mount Agung emerging through the clouds. Taman Ujung is not defined by extravagance, but by refinement. The strongest voice of northern Bali. Reaching northern Bali requires patience. Mountains, forests, and narrow village roads slowly separate you from the busier parts of the island. But once you finally arrive at Sekumpul Waterfall, you understand why it is often considered one of Bali's most breathtaking natural wonders. At Sekumpul, multiple waterfalls plunge from great heights and gather together in a shared basin below. The forest trail leading downward includes river crossings and uneven paths that naturally slow your pace, almost as if preparing you for what lies ahead. Long before you arrive, you begin to hear the deep sound echoing through the valley. And once you reach the waterfall, the scale of that sound becomes fully visible. The air here feels cool, and the ground remains constantly wet. Sunlight dances through the falling water. Like many hidden wonders of the world, Sekumpul is not simply a place to see. It is something to experience completely. A quiet flow hidden inside the forest. After the dramatic energy of Sekumpul, Banyumala Twin Waterfalls offers something entirely different. Hidden within the dense tropical forests of northern Bali's highlands, these twin waterfalls move with a softer rhythm. Instead of roaring downward in a single powerful stream, the water gently spreads across moss-covered rocks before flowing into the pool below. The trail here is short and shaded. Sunlight filters through the forest canopy, reaching the stones in scattered beams and making them glow softly. As you stand beside the waterfall, you slowly realize that Banyumala's true strength lies in its silence. And long after leaving, what you remember most is not only the scenery, but the feeling of physical calm it leaves behind. A protected sanctuary. Menjangan Island is part of West Bali National Park. The island is reached by boat from Bali's northern coastline. To preserve its natural beauty, access is carefully controlled. Boat arrivals and departures follow scheduled routes and limited entry systems. Deer roam freely across the island, and in fact, Menjangan takes its name from them. There are no villages here, no asphalt roads, and no large structures. Only low forests and quiet open land. From the outside, the island appears simple and understated. But once you descend beneath the water, everything changes. Vertical coral walls stretch downward for dozens of meters, growing slowly over time beneath the surface. Orange, purple, yellow, and red coral formations create an underwater landscape filled with color. Fish move constantly through the reefs, bringing motion and life to the scene. They observe divers briefly, then continue their daily routines undisturbed. Protected and peaceful, Menjangan Island quietly watches the movement of boats far away along Bali's southern shores. The free residence of a sacred sanctuary. In the center of Ubud, the noise of the town slowly fades away. Trees grow denser, the air becomes cooler, and then suddenly, movement appears between the branches. A shadow. Then another. Long-tailed macaques. Sacred Monkey Forest Sanctuary is a protected forest home to hundreds of long-tailed macaques. It also contains 3 active temples: Dalam Agung Padang Tegal, Holy Spring Temple, and Prajapati Temple. Rituals continue every day. Offerings are placed, prayers are recited, and throughout it all, the monkeys move freely through the temple courtyards, climbing stairways, crossing pathways, and sometimes even jumping onto visitors' shoulders. At first, such movement inside a sacred place may seem unusual. But according to local understanding, the monkeys belong here, while humans are merely visitors entering their space. Local staff intervene only when necessary. These animals remain wild and behave accordingly. Visitors are advised to watch their food, glasses, and small belongings carefully. The monkeys are fast, curious, and highly opportunistic. As you stand there looking at the ancient temple walls, you begin to understand something deeper. Here, nothing excludes anything else. Nature and sacred spaces have existed side by side for centuries, and this harmony has become part of Bali's cultural identity. A living reflection of order and tradition, Penglipuran Village is one of the rare places where Bali's traditional village life continues almost unchanged into the modern era. The village's main street is paved with stone, and on both sides stand gates and walls built with the same materials and in the same architectural style. Very little has changed here over time. The architecture follows knowledge passed down from ancestors. Any structural modification requires a shared community decision. The streets themselves are considered a collective responsibility, and each family carefully maintains the section in front of their home. Perhaps that is why Penglipuran is often recognized among the cleanest villages in the world. And when you walk through it, you immediately understand why. No plastic waste, no litter, no visible disorder. As you continue through the village, daily life quietly unfolds around you. Women weave traditional textiles. Elderly residents sit in their gardens. Children play in the streets. In Penglipuran, traditions are not displayed for visitors. They continue naturally as part of everyday life. Stone stairways descending toward the Pakarisan River feel like a journey back 1,000 years. Gunung Kawi Temple is an open-air temple complex consisting of 10 monumental shrines carved directly into the rock face during the 11th century. Each structure rises nearly 7 meters high and is believed to serve as a royal memorial connected to Bali's ancient ruling families. The path toward these massive carvings passes through rice terraces, flowing riverbanks, and deep green tropical scenery. Reaching the temple requires effort. Long stairways descend steeply, and narrow passages lead deeper into the valley. And once you finally arrive, a question naturally appears in your mind. How did people carve such deep monuments into solid stone so many centuries ago? The atmosphere inside remains quiet. From time to time, local families arrive to place offerings, pray, and leave again. This is not a museum frozen in history. It is still an active place of belief and worship today. Because much of Bali's historic heritage was traditionally built using organic materials vulnerable to the tropical climate, many ancient structures disappeared over time. Gunung Kawi survived because it was carved into stone. And for that reason, it remains one of the island's rare surviving windows into the past. The Mother Temple. On the slopes of Mount Agung stands Bali's most sacred temple complex, Pura Besakih. Often called the Mother Temple. This is not a single shrine, but a vast complex of 23 major temples dedicated to different gods and ancestral spirits, arranged in layers along the mountainside. From a distance, the terraces almost make it seem as if the mountain itself has been transformed into a giant sacred altar. The history of Besakih reaches back even further than Bali's written records. Some researchers believe the foundations of the temple may date back many centuries earlier. Visitors climbing toward the temple are expected to follow traditional dress rules. As you ascend the stairways and finally reach the upper levels, an extraordinary panorama opens before you. From the temple heights, Bali stretches outward like a living map. Rice terraces, forests, coastlines, and the distant ocean beyond. Every day, hundreds of local worshippers wearing traditional clothing make this uphill journey. They pray, honor their ancestors, and become part of the ongoing ceremonies held here. For every visitor, Besakih carries a different meaning. The gateway to heaven. High on the slopes of Mount Lempuyang in eastern Bali stands Pura Lempuyang, a 7-level temple complex considered one of the island's oldest and most sacred temples. Reaching the main temple at the summit requires hours of climbing, a journey that tests both patience and endurance. At the lower entrance of the complex stands the famous split gateway known as Candi Bentar. Recognized around the world as the gateway to heaven. When you look through it, Mount Agung appears perfectly framed in the distance. And under the right conditions, the volcano rises directly between the gates through the clouds. Perhaps the gate symbolizes more than a physical entrance. a passage between past and future, between the outer world and inner reflection. After the demanding climb, many visitors pause here to rest, think, and absorb the atmosphere surrounding this iconic landmark. Sacred fire above the cliffs. As sunset approaches, the cliffside slowly fills with people. Visitors sit near the edge with their legs hanging above the ocean, watching the horizon on one side and the waves of the Indian Ocean crashing against the rocks below on the other. Uluwatu Temple stands directly on the edge of these dramatic cliffs at Bali's southern tip. With a history dating back to the 11th century, it is considered one of the island's 6 most important temples. According to local belief, Uluwatu protects Bali from negative spirits, serving almost like a spiritual shield for the island. One of the things that makes this place truly unforgettable is the Kekak dance performance held at sunset. Kekak is unlike most traditional dances because it uses no musical instruments. Dozens of men sit in a circle, creating rhythmic chak-chak-chak sounds with their voices. The sound becomes both music and storytelling. Through movement and human voices alone, scenes from the Ramayana epic come to life. Firelight illuminates the performers' faces. Cool ocean winds rise from the coastline. The sun disappears and the sky slowly darkens. And throughout it all, the dance continues on this natural stage with the ocean stretching endlessly in the background. And here as well, visitors should remain careful. The monkeys around Uluwatu are known for quickly grabbing glasses, hats, and small belongings before disappearing just as fast. The temple between the tides. On Bali's western coastline stands Tanah Lot, a temple resting on a rocky formation surrounded by the ocean. Depending on the tides, it can sometimes be reached on foot from the shore, while at other times it remains completely isolated by water. Sometimes accessible, sometimes alone, and sometimes appearing only as a silhouette against the horizon. At sunset, Tanah Lot transforms into one of Bali's most photographed places. And the moment visitors see it, they immediately understand why. As the sun lowers, the water turns deep red, while the sky slowly shifts into shades of purple. Within this changing light, the temple becomes a dark silhouette against the glowing ocean. Tanah Lot was established during the 16th century by the Hindu priest Nirartha and is dedicated to sea deities. According to local belief, black and blue sea snakes protect the temple. When the tide recedes, freshwater springs appear beneath the rocks. This water is considered sacred and is traditionally placed on the forehead. Tanah Lot is remarkable, not because of its size, but because of its location. Ocean waves and tides continuously erode the rocky foundation beneath it. Over the years, Reinforcement work has been added to preserve the structure. Even as nature slowly attempts to reclaim it, people continue protecting the temple so it can remain standing. A sacred monument of the modern era. In southern Bali, high above the Bukit Peninsula, rises a figure reaching nearly 120 meters, including its pedestal. Vishnu, riding on the back of the mythical Garuda bird. Garuda Wisnu Kencana Cultural Park is both a cultural park and a symbol of modern Bali itself. Construction took decades, and once completed, the monument became one of the tallest statues in the world. Viewed up close, the statue feels entirely different from Bali's traditional temples. Its surfaces are smooth, modern, and built from concrete and copper. Here, ancient iconography merges with contemporary engineering techniques. Traditional dances are performed on modern stages. Symbols of Hinduism are reinterpreted across vast open plazas. Garuda Wisnu Kencana feels like a modern expression of tradition itself, a contemporary way for Bali to present its cultural identity to the world. Now, we are about to visit 3 different islands, leaving Bali's southeastern coast by small boat. The shoreline slowly disappears behind us. Around 45 minutes later, the first island emerges. Nusa Penida. The first impression is surprising, because this island feels very different from Bali's softer green landscapes. Towering white limestone cliffs rise high above the ocean. The winds are stronger here. The roads are narrow. And around nearly every corner, another unexpected scenic landscape suddenly appears. Our first stop on the island is Kelingking Beach. Located on the western coastline, it is famous for the cliff formation that resembles the head of a T-Rex dinosaur. From above, the small beach below looks almost unreal. Turquoise water, white sand, and enormous cliffs surrounding the bay. The descent to the beach is difficult. The path is narrow, the ground slippery, and in certain sections, ropes are necessary to continue downward safely. Many visitors turn back halfway. Although the beach itself is beautiful, swimming conditions are not always safe. The true experience here is the panoramic view from above, where the cliffs open dramatically toward the endless ocean. A few kilometers farther along the coast, nature reveals another extraordinary formation carved directly into the rocks. Our second stop, Angel's Billabong. During calm conditions, seawater fills this natural infinity pool and becomes so clear that the stones at the bottom remain fully visible. The colors shift constantly. Pale blue in the shallow areas, darker tones near the edges, and almost deep navy where the water opens toward the ocean beyond. Our third stop is Broken Beach. Right next to Angel's Billabong, the coastline suddenly opens into something unexpected. Over time, the force of the ocean caused the limestone to collapse inward, creating a natural arch above the water. There is no direct access to the sea here. From the edge of the rock, you can watch the ocean flowing in and out beneath the arch. Waves arrive, retreat, strike the cliffs, and turn into white foam. We continue quickly across the island, and our fourth stop is Diamond Beach. On the eastern side of Nusa Penida, the landscape changes once again. The path down to the beach follows a narrow and steep staircase carved into the limestone. The steps are small, and the descent requires slow, careful movement. As you go lower, the sound of waves echoes between the stone walls. At the bottom, a small beach rests between towering cliffs. The sand is light, and the water is remarkably clear. And the final stop on the island is Atuh Beach, just to the south. Here, the limestone formations take on a different character. Peninsulas reaching into the sea, natural bridges, and shallow bays. The water is calmer here. Depending on the position of the sun, its color shifts through dozens of different shades. The neighboring island is smaller and quieter. Its coastlines are clean, and the surrounding waters are clear. Dream Beach and Sandy Bay are ideal for sunbathing and swimming, while Mushroom Bay feels especially peaceful in the early morning. For many locals, seaweed farming is an important source of income. Along the coastline, green seaweed farms stretch across the shallow water. Seaweed is used in many different products, from cosmetics to food additives. In the mornings, farmers enter the water, inspect their fields, and collect the harvest. Here, the energy of tourism and the rhythm of daily life continue side by side. A yellow bridge connects Lembongan to Ceningan. Ceningan is the smallest of the three islands, but it has an unforgettable blue lagoon. The Blue Lagoon offers an extraordinary view, where visitors can admire the turquoise water from the cliff's edge, or for the adventurous, find safe access to experience the sea below. Caution is advised for all visitors near cliff edges. Penida, Lembongan, and Ceningan each have a different character. But all three offer a quieter and more personal experience, far from the main crowds of Bali. The quiet harbor of the east. On Bali's eastern coast, along the ferry routes between islands, lies the small harbor village of Padang Bai. It is both a ferry port and a coastal village. Blue Lagoon Beach, with its crystal clear water, is a wonderful place to begin snorkeling. Colorful fish, coral formations, and sometimes sea turtles appear here, not deep below, but only a few meters beneath the surface. For experienced visitors, diving boats travel to nearby coral reefs and underwater caves. The evenings in Padang Bai are beautiful as well. Small restaurants open their doors. Fresh seafood cooks over the grill. Wooden chairs are arranged along the shore. Local fishermen pull their boats onto the beach. As the day comes to an end, Padang Bai becomes a charming coastal village in its own quiet way, far from Bali's busier tourism centers. In eastern Bali, on the slopes of Mount Agung, lies one of the island's most untouched corners. A valley known as Sidemen. Layered rice terraces cover the hillsides. Narrow irrigation channels flow between the fields. Small homes with gardens are scattered across the slopes. Life moves slowly here. In the mornings, mist fills the valley and gradually disappears with the rising sun. In the afternoon, the rice fields turn golden. By evening, Mount Agung emerges from the clouds and dominates the entire valley. Here, everything feels reduced to its essentials: soil, water, people, and mountain. Local weaving workshops produce traditional Balinese textiles on hand looms. It feels less like a commercial process and more like a living tradition. Take a walk through the valley. Follow the paths between the rice fields. Stop in a village and drink some water. Do not hurry back. Sidemen may make you feel as if you have stepped into a different side of Bali. Bali, the island that chooses silence. Bali is not easy to describe, because this island cannot fit inside a short text, a brief video, or a single experience. In Tegalalang, you saw that beauty is the visible form of labor. In Tirta Empul, you understood that belief here is a daily ritual. In Uluwatu, while watching dancers turn in the last light of sunset, you felt that Bali's stage comes from one of humanity's oldest needs: meaning and togetherness. And standing above the cliffs of Nusa Penida, you realized that the most beautiful things are often reached through effort. Bali holds a fascinating balance. On one side, there are active volcanoes, demanding rituals and powerful tides. On the other, there are flower offerings placed every morning. Collective decisions about irrigation, and the shared silence of Nyepi night. When you visit this island, you do not only see beautiful places, you also see how people create balance with nature, with belief, and with one another. Mount Agung looks different at every hour of the day. Sometimes it disappears into the clouds. Sometimes it stands before you in full detail. Bali is the same. Visitors come and go. Seasons change. But Bali continues. If you enjoyed this journey, do not forget to subscribe to our channel and like the video. Each time, we travel together to some of the world's most remarkable destinations, hidden cultures, and breathtaking landscapes. See you on the next journey.